Which chapter are we reading?
We are actually in my book in the Bible. Is that blasphemy? That's not blasphemy, right?
Spell blasphemy.
QW4 936
What?
Airlines United.
You just name a plane?
No. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the In the Fire podcast. I appreciate you guys tuning in, whether you're listening on Spotify, iTunes, or watching us on YouTube. Make sure to check out the Facebook. Make sure to check out the TikTok.
Sorry.
Make sure to check out all those platforms. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We love you. Make sure to check out the most important link in the description, that being the Patreon, aka the family, where we connect, we pray for each other, we just be in communion. And yeah.
Join it. It's
Join
awesome.
it.
It's amazing.
It's blessed.
And we love you guys that are already on there.
Yes, we
you
do.
know who you are. We really go to Dedra.
What? The reason Lewis is like this is because he's still trying to figure out what chapter we're in. And trying to find the book of Daniel is tough for him.
I'm not trying to figure
What's the book right before Daniel? Bible knowledge. Ezekiel, Bible knowledge.
You're just saying it because you read Ezekiel.
Lewis don't know. Of course. You didn't read Ezekiel? Oh, Lewis didn't read Ezekiel.
Relax, bro. Relax.
All right, then.
Relax.
But there's also Daniel. How are we not going to know who Daniel is? He's like the number one character in the Bible after Jesus.
He's not the number one character in the Bible.
Yes, he is.
Dude, I get it. He has the same name as you, and that probably fills up your pride cup in your heart or something. But, like, relax, okay? You're Daniel here, and this Daniel was back there. I get it. You're matching your name, but stop. Anyways, so what are we doing today, Daniel?
I like that you said Daniel. That's putting respect on my name. What's my name again? That's what I thought. But make sure you guys check out the last episode where we talk about David and Goliath. It was a fantastic episode, full of wisdom. Banger episode. Check it out. You don't want to miss out.
You do not want to miss that.
But we got a lot of awesome feedback from you guys. You guys love these type of episodes where we do Bible studies, where we hear
you guys.
Yes, we do.
Thank you.
Yes, we do.
Thank you for commenting. We really
thank you for commenting. So today we are going to study the book of Daniel and the Lion's Den.
Ooh.
This is, if you want to follow along with us, just as long as you're not driving.
Lol.
This is Daniel chapter 6. So if you want to pull out your Bibles, pull it out with me. If you have a hard copy, if you have a soft copy, like digital, on the phone, you can pull that out too. Yeah, Daniel chapter 6. If you're driving, please don't do that. We'll read it for you. Don't worry. But before we start, we should probably give some feedback, some background information to who Daniel is and what's going on right before all this goes down.
Okay.
Daniel is in exile.
Yes.
To Babylon. He was exiled at around the age of 17. Very young guy.
17-year-olds, man.
Bro, these young guys going through it. But Daniel gets exiled into Babylon, so he's pretty much kind of a slave in a way, but not really, because he comes from a noble family. He comes from a family of royalty. Yeah. And so, this king sends one of his guys to like go and find somebody strong, healthy, noble, good-looking men. What's good with these good-looking men, right?
Yeah,
these good-looking guys.
Has to specify.
David and Daniel
was good-looking.
Daniel was good-looking. Daniel is good-looking.
Yeah, Daniel from the Bible. Yeah,
you're both Daniels, I would say so. But don't laugh. You weren't supposed to laugh that hard,
brother.
It wasn't that funny.
Sure, the Bible says that the Daniel from the Bible is good-looking. Yeah. Continue.
You didn't have to laugh that hard.
Continue.
Whatever. But Daniel, good-looking man, and his 3 friends, they get brought into exile, but they get put into this palace, this kingdom. Yeah. And so they start building up their way in hierarchy in this kingdom in a way.
Keep going up and up.
Yeah, they have the favor of God. We'll study that in another episode where, the Daniel fast. And he has the favor of God. Daniel does everything to an excellence in this kingdom. Right? So now we fast forward. Daniel serves about... he's kind of in this place for 70 years. He's there for,
70 years?
Yes, the book of chapter 6, where he gets thrown in the lions,
Okay.
they estimate that he was in his early 80s.
What, when this was happening?
Yes. When Daniel was thrown into the lion's den, he was about 80 years old. Early 80s. They say maybe even late 80s.
Wow.
This
Okay.
man was a man of faith. And so this is pretty much where we leave off, you know.
Interesting.
This new king is in rule, Darius.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's where we are, Daniel chapter 6. So we can start here.
Let's get to reading.
Let's get it. Darius the Mede decided to divide the kingdom into 120 provinces, and he appointed a high officer to rule over each province. The king also chose Daniel and 2 other administrators to supervise the high officers and protect the king's interest. So we see here that this king, he's pretty organized.
I saw that too.
He's pretty organized. He's splitting this up. Basically 120 provinces. He's splitting up a bunch of different sections of this nation, of this kingdom, so that he doesn't have to do everything, right? These 120 provinces, imagine 120 leaders making sure that people are doing what's right, paying their taxes, not doing anything crazy, not doing anything fishy. And then he appointed a high officer to rule over each province, right?
As well as administrators to make sure that the high officers are actually doing their
Exactly.
job.
So you
and
have
keeping in the king's interest.
Exactly, right? So he says
Pretty good.
the king also chose Daniel and 2 other administrators to supervise the high officers and protect the king's interest, right? So
Good businessman.
So above these high officers are the administrators, which are only 3 of them in the entire kingdom, and Daniel is selected as one of them.
Crazy.
So Daniel is put in a very high position. Daniel soon proved himself more capable than all the other administrators and high officers. So not only did this man get selected in the top 3, but he is top 1. He just obliterated every person.
He's better.
He's just better.
He's better.
I felt that, Daniel. I felt that.
All right.
Anyway, here we go. More capable than all the other administrators and high officers. Because of Daniel's great ability, the king made plans to place him over the entire empire. Basically, second in command, second to the king was going to be Daniel.
Ugh.
Wait, why you say ugh? Dude,
so good.
because he's so good. This man had God's favor in everything that he did.
He had God's favor, and he was also just excellent in what he did.
Excellent.
He's just a smart guy. He did everything well and to the best of his ability.
Yep. And so then we continue. Then the other administrators and high officers began searching for some fault in the way Daniel was handling government affairs, but they couldn't find anything to criticize or condemn.
The haters.
No. This goes beyond haters.
Okay, let's hear it.
Let's
hear it.
Okay, first of all, talk about a toxic workplace. These people, they feel their pride has been so hurt that they have to go out of their way to basically investigate Daniel's entire life to try to find anything that would ruin and slander his name. And they couldn't find a single thing. Dude, first of all, it says, then the other administrators and high officers. The other administrators, meaning the other 2, so now we have 2, and high officers, there was 120 of them. That's assuming all 120 plus the 2 administrators. They have the entire kingdom looking into this man's history to try to find anything to tear him down. Daniel has a target on his back.
Crazy.
They literally go out of their way. How sad is that? That for you to feel so threatened by somebody's position and somebody's excellence, because Daniel had done nothing wrong to them. All he did was do his job in an excellent way, and they grew so jealous that their only way to reach his level was to tear him down. Their first thought wasn't even, let me do a good job. Let me do as good of a job as Daniel. No, let me tear him down. Because if we can tear him down, then he won't be second in command. He won't be above us. He won't be this. Their entire goal for Daniel was to tear him down. This goes way beyond haters. This is like, I need this man torn down completely. and I'm going to dedicate my time to look at everything he's ever said and done to try to just dismiss him and slander his name to the king. To me, that's a different level of sad.
Yeah, I mean, how hard is it to rejoice when others are rejoicing?
Yeah.
You know, like, how hard is that for you to choose just to be like, this guy is about to get, you know, promoted. This huge blessing is going to enter one of my,
Right.
you know, the people that are around me, my, like, a coworker or a friend. They're about to be blessed by a promotion, by this, by that. Maybe they already have been blessed, whatever. How hard is it for you just to be happy with them? You know, I think I shared it before. I remember there's one time this pastor was telling a story about how one of his friends who was also a pastor, his church was just like booming. Like, he was just, people were coming and like people were being saved and just, you know, a bunch of blessing. But, you know, his heart just wasn't in the place to rejoice with him. And he was just saying how like God had to bring him through this like this time where he had to learn to rejoice with other people so that he could receive a blessing also. Because if somebody else gets a blessing and you can't be happy for that person and rejoice with them, then there's something in your heart that needs to be fixed. Because then when you're able to rejoice that other person, then you can have a heart to receive a blessing yourself. You know? And so that's just one thing where it's like, how hard is it for those administrators just to be like, wow, like, this guy's doing a really good job. I should try to work as hard as him.
Yeah, I think it also comes down to comparison, where it's like, if Daniel was never set to take second in command or even offered that position or even thought about it, they would have been just doing their job. Yeah, Daniel's doing a great job, but the second he receives this idea of this promotion, they're like, hold on.
Yeah.
This guy?
It's just jealousy, envy, all these different things that like easily you can just be like, no.
Yeah.
We think that these things come up and they have to be the driving force for us, where we have the ability and the choice to put it down and be like, no, I'm not going to be jealous, envious, this, that, this. I'm going to choose to rejoice.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the hating continues. The hating does not stop there. So basically they don't find anything because they find Daniel a righteous and good man.
Faithful, responsible, trustworthy.
He was faithful, always responsible, and completely trustworthy. What a way to describe a man.
I'm about to say, like, that's nice being like explained like that.
If your haters look for something and they cannot find anything, and the only way they can describe you is he was faithful, always responsible, and completely trustworthy. Wouldn't we want people to speak about us like that?
Yes, we do.
To me, there was a lot of conviction at this point, because it's like, wow, for me, if somebody were to investigate everything I've said and done in the last 6 months, bro, they have so much on me, so much dirt. But the fact that this man lived this long in this pagan kingdom around non-believers, and for 120, let's say just all 120 high officers and the 2 administrators are looking into this man's life, and all they can say is he was faithful, always responsible, and completely trustworthy.
Crazy.
That is the life that I want to live. Especially as a man of God, that is the life that I want to live. I want people to look at me and look at my life and say he was faithful, always responsible, and completely trustworthy.
100%.
What a beautiful way to describe a man.
Saying the same.
Here we go. So they concluded, our only chance of finding grounds for accusing Daniel will be in connection with the rules of his religion. Now, why did they aim at his religion? Why did they aim at his belief in God? Because they knew that he would not compromise. They knew that the only way they would get to Daniel is if they tried to take his prayer life away, if they tried to take his walk away from his walk with God away, if they tried to take and tear down his faith. They knew it would not work, and he would get caught lacking because Daniel would not compromise his faith. To me, this is a compliment to Daniel. The fact that the only thing that we can do to tear him down is come at his faith, because he will not compromise that. They were so certain that Daniel would not give up his prayer life, his God, his faith in God, that they were like, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to get to Daniel. To me, mind-blowing.
Wow.
They knew Daniel would not compromise. So the administrators and high officers went to the king and said, long live King Darius. We are all in agreement All? We administrators, Daniel's an administrator,
Crazy.
officials, high officers, advisors, and governors. You might as well name everybody and their mamas right there are in agreement that the king should make a law that will be strictly enforced. Give orders that for the next 30 days, any person who prays to anyone, divine or human, except to you, your majesty, will be thrown into the den of lions. Hating is taken to the next level at this point.
Insane.
You know what I found interesting was that the manipulation they play on the king by saying nobody's allowed to worship except you. Like, the worship should go to you, you know?
Yep, 100%.
That manipulation of like convincing him, like playing on his ego strings.
You're the man. Mm-hmm. You're that guy. Like, you need the praise. Nobody else can receive praise except you. You deserve that. Yeah.
If they didn't throw that in there, the king would have been like, nah, that's not that important. But the fact that they were like, he's like, it plays on his heartstrings, so his ego, his like, oh shoot, like they're trying. Wow, all the high officers, governors, administrators, they all agree. All of them. That is a lot of people in power that agree for this law to be passed, and they want to praise me. Let's do it. Let's go for it. These people knew what they were doing, and the fact that they had the audacity to lie and say we are all in agreement, all administrators, throwing Daniel in there, and the king respected Daniel at this point, and so to hear like, okay, even Daniel agrees, everybody agrees. I bet let's pass this law, right?
Crazy.
And now, your majesty, issue and sign this law so it cannot be changed. An official law of the Medes and Persians that cannot be revoked. So King Darius signed the law. So this man signed the law.
Instantly right there with that little verse of like, so King Darius signed the law. Like you said, like the verse that, whoever exalts himself will be humbled and whoever humbles himself will be exalted. Yeah. In that moment, like you just see like you just talk about the pride, like he signed it, and like, and we see like later, like, it seems that King Herod was like a, kind of like
Darius,
sorry. Yep. He was like a kind of like an okay king. He wasn't terrible. Wasn't like very like that. Like wasn't very
right.
You can see he has compassion later in the chapter, but in this moment he definitely felt to pride. He felt to that pride of just being like, yeah, sure. Like I'll sign it. Like I'll be the one that let's do it. Like you said, let's pray for me. Everybody's agreeing, so let's do it. Like I saw just like a moment of weakness and pride, and that's why with this, like we just have to be watchful because, especially just in walking in faith, and especially if we're young too. There's a verse that I think that says that do not give the young people a high position because they might get prideful or something, right? I think Paul talks about that. And so I think it's really important that a lot of us check ourselves to see if there's some type of pride in us that's kind of like the pride is the driving force for us making a decision or doing something like, oh, because I have to be seen this certain way or I need to do this or because I want them to see me a certain way or whatever the case may be. We have to just be watchful of that because pride is like sneaky, it's sneaky, very sneaky. So we have to always be like, whoa, like where's my heart, like before you go and sign something, like am I doing this because I want to be looked at, I want the eyes to be on me, I want the praise, or am I doing this for God because I want God to be glorified through me and for God to use me, not for me to receive the glory. It's just something that I saw. It's like always be watchful of that.
And we see him doubt this decision in a bit as we keep reading, but when Daniel learned that the law had been signed, meaning he had no idea about this, he had just learned it, watch this. He went home and knelt down as usual in his upstairs room with its windows open towards Jerusalem. He prayed 3 times a day, just as he had always done, giving thanks to his God. To me, tough line.
His faith did not falter despite outward opinion or outward pressure or nothing. This man did not falter. This man did not change.
Did not change. It literally, but when Daniel learned that the law had been signed, he learned about it and he's like, all right, I'm gonna do my usual. What's crazy is the Bible says he did his usual. He didn't pray because of the situation. He just continued his praying life even though the situation had come up. He did his usual, meaning Daniel was praying 3 times a day on his knees every day faithfully. When it was good, when God was promoting him, when God was being in his favor, when God was pushing him forward, and you know, people, he was touching lives in this kingdom. He had the favor of the king. Daniel was praying 3 times every day, no matter what. This law gets signed. What does he do? He still prays the 3 times. He still gets his knee, and he thanks God. What? I'm sorry. So you just learned about a law that says if you pray, you will die. Because Daniel knew that getting thrown into the lion's den is death.
Of course.
So it says, but when Daniel learned that if he prayed, he would die, he prayed. That's literally what this verse just said. When Daniel learned that if he prayed, he would die, he prayed 3 times. What are you saying right now? This man, first of all, the confidence in this 80-year-old man is crazy. But his faith in God was absolutely admiring. Absolutely admiring. The thing that's beautiful is Daniel weighed his losses. He said, lose my life or lose my obedience in God.
Oh my gosh.
Lose my life or lose my praying life. Lose my life or lose my relationship with God. And the fact that he didn't even think about it. It says he the second he learned about this law, he went down on his knees and he prayed. To him, it was like, yo, I will give up my life because I've been faithful to God this entire time.
Wow.
His faith was unwavering. He had people after his entire life, after his entire thing. He had been building this and building up to this moment for his whole life. You know, he had worked hard to get to the position he's at. He had done all the things. He had the faith in God. You know, in previous chapters, you know, that we talked about the diet, like where they're told, like the chefs like telling him like, yo, the king wants you to eat this stuff just like everybody else. He's like, no, you're going to feed me and my friends veggies and we're going to be stronger than they are. Give us 10 days. Huh? His confidence in God was crazy. He had no doubt that God will pull through. And God always did. And he knew that. And that's why up to this moment, he didn't doubt it for a second. And the thing is, he wasn't sure that God would rescue him from the lions. That's not where his faith was at. His faith wasn't, God, I know you're going to rescue me from the lions. His faith was knowing that God was bigger than his problems and that God had a plan for the whole thing. He wasn't sure that his life would not end there in the lion's den. But he was not going to compromise his prayer life. And the thing is, he didn't do it out of boastfulness. Like, he didn't go out into the kingdom and be like, you signed this law? Bet I'm going to pray right in front of you to rub it in. No, he did his usual. He went home in his private chamber, prayed.
No extra like boasting, no extra nothing.
He just did his thing. That was the genuine faith that he had in God.
Wow.
And then we continue, right?
And like what I would say with that too is like, how many times have somebody asked you about your faith, and when they ask you, you're like, well, you know, like I kind of believe, and
yeah,
and a lot of times and you know, because especially you know in the United States, like persecution isn't very, you know, like vivid here, right? But when it comes to other countries, like where persecution is very real, but nowadays, you know, what it is now for us here, like it's just more like, you know, embarrassment opinions, like feeling type of way about what people think. And so with this, like, this is like his life on the line, and he didn't switch up
his life.
Yet what we view as that, or what we think is so high, is just people, is how people view us. Like a person's opinion to us is like having a life on the line. And so we falter like, you know, I kind of, you know, I believe a little bit. I tried to, but then like other people, I love Jesus so much. But like other people, I don't, you know, I kind of believe it. I'm trying to, I can still do things. It's like, how can we get to the point with like Daniel?
Wow.
Where it's like, no matter what, like we don't deny Jesus in front of people, or we're just like, our faith is 100% everywhere we go. We got to get to that point.
Yeah. Now, before we continue reading, what do we feel about Daniel's prayer life? I'm sorry, but this whole chapter was full of conviction for me. This whole chapter was like, not only was he faithful to God and everything that he did, but his prayer life was on point. His prayer life was on point. And no matter, like we talked about it, no matter what happened, he was praying. And that makes me, the reason that makes me feel convicted is because there are times in our lives that we try to fit God into our schedule instead of trying to fit our schedule into God. You know, this is for me personally. There's times where I'm like, I wake up late and I have a lot of stuff to do, and I'm like, I'm gonna do a quick prayer because, you know, like I got a lot of stuff to do. God will understand, right? To me, that's conviction. Would Daniel have done the same thing? Why was Daniel so excellent in everything that he did? Probably because he was faithful in his praying. He was in his praying closet.
I like that.
And so that convicts me because it's like, I put my work over my prayer life. I put my schedule over my prayer life. I prioritize it. So am I not prioritizing my relationship with God sometimes?
Wow.
My prayer life has to be unwavering. That no matter what happens, no matter what my situation is, and no matter how busy I am or what my schedule is, I should be always praying to God and having that unwavering prayer life. That is what I get from this moment with Daniel. The fact that he knelt down, he also teaches us something about prayer. He prays and he thanks God. This man's life, he basically just signed his life away. That's the equivalent. You pray to another God, you're going to throw in the lines then. He knew that. He wasn't trying to escape it. He wasn't trying to find loopholes. He knew he just signed his life away by praying.
Wow.
And yet, he thanked God. What did he thank God for? Because there's times in our lives where we become very ungrateful. Where we don't even, sometimes we even struggle to find something to thank God for. But Daniel's life was about to end because of his prayer life to God. Some may say they blame God for his life being on the line. But no, he thanked God. And it makes me curious to what Daniel was thanking God for. Could it be that God was incredibly faithful to him the last 80 years of his entire life? Could it be that he was thankful that God had given him favor over everybody in that kingdom, including the king that was in immense power? Could it be that God gave him miracles like feeding him veggies and still him being stronger and more excellent than everybody else? Maybe that Daniel was better than all the administrators and high officers and God put him in that position of power? Could it be that Daniel was still had sight and legs and was able to still kneel down and pray to his God? Daniel had everything to be thankful for. And he knew that. That's the beautiful part, is we're in the same position. We have everything to be thankful for. And yet in tough situations, we find it hard to be thankful. In hard situations, sometimes we get distant from God. In hard situations, sometimes we get angry at God, and yet we don't thank him and we don't kneel down and pray.
Wow.
Daniel had every right. Well, not every right, because we just described what, everything in Daniel's life, but in that moment, it could have been so easy for him to be like, God, really? I was so faithful to you. Wow. I did everything. I prayed nonstop, and now my life is on the line? And was this all for nothing?
Which is understandable.
Yet, he kneels down as his usual 3 times a day, and he thanks to God.
Wow. I don't know if you remember this clip. I think it was from George Jenko, and he was saying that, like, either when you worry, this one part of your brain activates, right?
Yeah.
But then the same, like when you're very thankful, that same part of the brain also activates. So it's like you can't be thankful and worry at the same time. And so it's like in this moment, like if he was thanking God, he wasn't worrying. Just 100% faith. And something I read in this book I was reading was like, if prayer is the lifeblood of the Christian walk and the Christian faith, then I'm afraid a lot of the believers are anemic, which means anemic meaning like there's like a deficiency in your blood. There's like a lack of blood in your body. Meaning just like a lot of believers, if prayer is the lifeblood, which it is of the Christian walk, then I'm afraid a lot of people are anemic. That a lot of people are deficient in their blood. They're deficient in their prayer. There's lack of prayer life when it's the most important thing.
It is.
It's the most important thing.
It is. That's beautiful. And so we continue. Here we go. Okay. Then the officials went together to Daniel's house. Crazy. They really met up. They're like, yo, we're going to meet here at this time with all the officials so we could go arrest Daniel lol. Because they knew that he was about to not compromise his faith in God, right?
Crazy.
So then the officials went together to Daniel's house and found him praying. Oops, we found you. Haha, what a coincidence. And asking for God's help. So they went straight to the king and reminded him about his law. Snitches. Did you not sign a law that for the next 30 days, any person who prays to anyone, divine or human, except to you, your majesty, will be thrown into the den of lions? What?
Your majesty.
Yes, the king replied. That decision stands. It is an official law of the Medes and the Persians that cannot be revoked. Now, back then, the Medes and the Persians, they had this thing where when a law is placed, no matter what, not even the king can revoke the law. No matter what. Because they believed, I guess, that the gods were anointing, the king. And so, like, if the king said it, like, that's it. It's wraps. Like, basically, the god said it. And so there was no going back on his word. Then they told the king, that man Daniel, snitches,
evil, bro,
one of the captives from Judah, is ignoring you and your law. He still prays to his God 3 times a day. Wow, snitches. Like I said, talk about a toxic workplace. Hearing this, the king was deeply troubled, and he tried to think of a way to save Daniel. He spent the rest of the day looking for a way to get Daniel out of this predicament. Interesting. To me, it's fascinating that the king was deeply troubled, and he immediately, because I'm guessing the law said that the next day he would be thrown in. And so the king had less than a day to figure out how to get Daniel out. The fact that the king of this entire nation is deeply troubled.
Crazy.
He has 120 more officers, high officers, and then he has 2 more administrators. Just get another one and you're good to go. But he's deeply troubled. He's like, he tried to think of a way to save Daniel. Now, what does that show us about Daniel's character? The fact that he found this much favor in the king, this man, Daniel, had to have been one heck of a man.
Yeah, 100%.
A trustworthy, responsible, mature, a man of integrity.
Yeah.
A man that showed love and showed respect to his king. This king went out of his way. This is a king we're talking about. Like a king.
Kings are busy. They're doing a bunch of stuff.
Not even just busy. The amount of authority and power that they have is out of this world. I would say it was more like crazy to be a king than a president right now.
Oh, yeah.
A king was like
in charge. Like he was in charge of anything.
Yes.
Whatever
they said went.
Whatever he wanted, he can get it.
And yet, this one man, Daniel, his life being on the line troubled him.
He's beasting over it.
Now, also, why did it trouble him? Maybe because at this point, he realized that he was manipulated. That he was convinced by his people.
I mean, he just realized that people were actually like, they wanted him down. They wanted Daniel to be destroyed.
Yeah. Maybe he's deeply troubled also because he let his pride get in the way, like we talked about before. And he's like, why in the world would I sign such a stupid law? Why would I do that? Am I dumb? Maybe that's why he's deeply troubled. And so we say, in the evening, the men went together to the king and said, Your Majesty, you know that according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, no law that the king signs can be changed. These guys...
manipulators, bro.
These guys, schemers. So at the last, the king gave orders for Daniel to be arrested and thrown into the den of lions. The king said to him, May your God, whom you serve so faithfully, rescue you. Keep that in mind. A stone was brought and placed over the mouth of the den. The king sealed the stone with his own royal seal and the seals of his nobles, so that no one could rescue Daniel. So there was no way of Daniel getting out. This is for real.
Yep, he's done. He's in there.
Then the king returned to his palace and spent the night fasting. He refused his usual entertainment and couldn't sleep at all that night.
Imagine the king of the nation
over one man
responding like that about you.
Crazy, right? He fasted and he refused his usual entertainment. That's his concubines, all these women, the entertainment that he has, all this stuff. He's like, no, I can't. He couldn't even sleep. You know, when like his eagerness to find, like, to just go and see Daniel and see what happens. He's like, I cannot sleep. How could I sleep peacefully knowing that I did this to this innocent man? To this man of righteousness that only served me for 70 years faithfully. And I did that over my own pride, over just being manipulated by these people.
Wow.
Crazy. Very early the next morning, very early it says, the king got up and hurried out to the lion's den. So literally at the break of dawn, this man's like, "Ooh, we gotta go."
Yep.
I'm guessing the law said, like, all right, you can open the seal up once, you know, the sun comes out, whatever. When he got there, he called out in anguish, "Daniel, servant of the living God, was your God, whom you serve so faithfully, able to rescue you from the lions?" This is the second time the king says that to Daniel. Here's my question. How did the king know that Daniel served his God so faithfully? How did he know? Did he go to Daniel's house? Did Daniel invite him to Bible studies and prayer sessions? No, the king did not follow Daniel 24/7. How did he know Daniel served his God so faithfully? Faithfully meaning he prayed all the time. Because he knew. He saw it in the way Daniel lived.
Wow.
In the way Daniel talked. So what does that teach us? It teaches us that people look at the way we live and we are representatives of Christ. And a lot of times, let's say I've gotten some, DMs sometimes saying, how do I talk to my family about my belief? How do I bring them to Christ? And talking to your family about Christ is hard. It is difficult. But here we see that Daniel's faith and Daniel's faithful prayer life and the way he spoke, the way he acted, his integrity was shown like a bright light through him, showing that he was faithfully serving his God. I want people, this is my goal for my life, I want people to look at my life and look at the way I act, not even me say it out of my mouth saying, I believe in Christ, I believe in God, I do this, I do that. I don't want it to come from my mouth. I want people to look at my life, look at the way I live, look at the way I speak and say, that man, he faithfully serves his God. He's a faithful man of God. Crazy that the king says this, right?
So good. Just how he lives.
And the funny thing is, what if Daniel didn't answer him? Like when the king went up to the den and he was like, Daniel,
shave his head and fast for a few days.
Daniel. No, because they probably would have opened the stone and seen that he was slaughtered by these lions. Daniel answered, "Long live the king. My God sent his angels to shut the lions' mouths so that they would not hurt me. For I have been found innocent in his sight, and I have not wronged you, your majesty."
Crazy.
Basically saying, I never did anything wrong to you. Yes, I broke the law because I faithfully served my God, but I never wronged you. No matter what the administrators say, what the high officers say, I didn't wrong you. The king was overjoyed and ordered that Daniel be lifted from the den. Not a scratch was found on him, for he had trusted in his God. Not a single scratch. This man was thrown into lion's den overnight, and he cuddled with them. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know for a fact Daniel was not scared. He was probably terrified.
Okay, imagine.
But he wasn't. He was terrified for his life. But I can most assuredly tell you, not for a single second did he doubt what he did. Did he regret what he did? If he could go back, he would pray 6 times. Probably not. He'd probably do his usual, do 3 times. But He did not regret it, but he was still fearing for his life because, of course, he's about to get absolutely his arms ripped off by these lions.
Completely understandable. Completely understandable.
But I know for a fact he did not regret what he did. He remained faithful to God no matter the situation. And so, let's continue. Then the king gave orders to arrest the men who had maliciously accused Daniel. That's a whole lot of people, my boy. He had them thrown into the lion's den, along with their wives and children.
Sheesh, man.
The lions leaped on them and tore them apart before they even hit the floor of the den. What does this tell me? These lions weren't full. These lions were hungry, bro. These lions were starving. And they didn't just not eat Daniel because these lions, maybe they just fed them before. Maybe the king slipped up some nice meals right before Daniel got in there.
Yeah, I like that.
No.
Crazy. Just to make sure, like, just so you know.
These lions didn't even let them touch the floor and they were already in their stomach. Can you believe that? To me, that's crazy. These lions were hungry.
Wow, I like that.
And so, then King Darius sent this message to the people of every race and nation and language throughout the world. Peace and prosperity to you. I decree that everyone throughout my kingdom should tremble with fear before the God of Daniel. For he is the living God, and he will endure forever. His kingdom will never be destroyed, and his rule will never end. He rescues and saves his people. He performs miraculous signs and wonders in the heavens and on earth. He has rescued Daniel from the power of the lions. So Daniel prospered during the reign of Darius and the reign of Cyrus the Persian. Boom. It's the end of chapter 6 for Daniel.
Crazy.
80-year-old man, faithful in this pagan world.
And at the end of the day, who got the glory?
God.
God got the glory. And
All of
it's so cool because that's all it always is for, right? It's for his glory. When Jesus healed people, when Jesus gave sight to the blind, it was for God's glory. When we ourselves now heal people, pray over people, when these big things happen, deliverances, it's for his glory, not for ours. And it's so amazing that, like, again, the pressure that Daniel felt, and just the pressure in general from reading it, is an immense pressure. It's the king's decree, who can do whatever he wants for literally for your life. That's how much pressure he was feeling. Insane pressure. We don't feel that same pressure now. Right. We feel like maybe 10% of it, maybe max. Yeah, a lot of us falter in those moments of pressure. And so when you have a situation, when there's pressure to just do what you usually want to do in your faith, or just act out, if it's pressure to not act in your faith, like that pressure is really going crazy at you, and like it makes you feel like you don't want to say who you believe in, or you don't want to do what you believe that God can do. Just remember Daniel. Like, remember his faithfulness, that he walked, he did it, he kept praying no matter what. And at the end of the day, God got glory for it, because he believed in God, and God brought him through that, and God shut the mouth of the lion. God did something miraculous, something insane to save Daniel. And that just goes to show, like, Daniel's faithfulness was in God. And when you put your faithfulness and your faith in God, you don't leave like sad. You don't leave like, oh, why'd I do that? No. God shows up. And this is a prime example that don't listen and don't fall to the pressure of outward opinion, outward voices. Just have faith in God, and he will show up for you. And then at the end of the day, his name will be glorified because of what he's going to do through you. The question is, are you going to have the faith for it?
And the way I looked at it too was, I look back at the moment when Daniel was probably the most terrified for his life. Yet, like I said, he remained faithful to God, not because he knew God would rescue him from the situation, but because he knew God was bigger than his situation. And so the fact that, this king ends up sending this decree to the whole world, all of the nations, all of the races, whatever, I wonder how many people came to form a relationship with God after that. Through Daniel's faithfulness. Daniel didn't think that it would end up being this big of a deal, that it would end up making the king send out a decree to all of these people, talking about his God that he faithfully served.
Just the fact that he just kept on praying the way he usually does.
For him, That didn't even cross his mind.
Not to do anything out of the ordinary for him.
Yeah. He just did his usual. And so what do we learn from all of this? For me, what stuck out the most to me was his prayer life. That's the type of prayer life that I want. And I pray to God that my fire doesn't die down even when I'm up on the mountains, even when I'm being promoted to administrator, almost second in the command of the king. I still want to be praying as my usual.
Yeah.
And at the same time, when my life is on the line, when things are going very south, when things I just do not understand why things are happening. I don't understand, God, where are you? Why is this happening? Why is my life being threatened? I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Why can't I do this?
Wow.
He still prayed as usual. That's what I want to do. That's the prayer life that I want. I do not want to work God into my schedule. I want my schedule to work around my prayer life.
Wow.
That's what I want for my life. And that's what I got the most out of this story. Because this whole thing was based on faith. The amount of faith that this man had for God was incredible. I want that type of faith. Because if we put ourselves in that shoe, like you said, we go through 10% of what Daniel went through. Way less.
Yeah. Daniel
went through it. Because think about it. Daniel lived in a kingdom that was fully pagan. He was probably one of the only people that believed in God. They probably said so much. He had this crazy toxic workplace where they got people bullying him, coming after his whole life. Yet, he remained faithful. Yet, he remained steadfast. He remained focused on God. He said, no matter what happens, I'm going to pray. I'm going to be faithful. I'm going to trust you. I'm going to have my confidence in you. That's what's beautiful, is he always knew God will pull through. And maybe it wasn't in the way that he was expecting. That's the case for some of us. Sometimes God doesn't pull through in the way that we wanted him to pull through. But remember that God is bigger than your problems in an insane way. And God's plan, listen, I truly believe if Daniel would have died in the lion's den and the king still would have sent that decree out, it still would have been 1,000,000 times worth it. Daniel would have, let's say from heaven, he would have looked back and been like, worth it. I'd do it again. Because he remained steadfast. He remained faithful. Not to mention that he lived 80 years of this blessed life. And he's like, you know what? He probably would have been like, you know what, God? If this is it, this is it. Like, that's fine. I'm going to remain faithful. Till the end. Till the end. I ask myself. I put myself in Daniel's shoes and I said, only 30 days? God, let me pray in my head for the next 30 days, right? Or let me just not pray, God, it's only 30 days. I'll be back to my prayer life the second the 30 days are done. 30 days goes by fast.
That's a good point.
Honestly, I would have done that.
Just wait 30 days, yeah.
Honestly, I would have. If my whole life is on the line, I would have been like, God, I'm going to just pray in my head. Pray quietly.
I'd probably try to pray where nobody can see me.
Exactly. Go hidden, nobody see me, no nothing. But no. He's like, nah.
Same place.
Same place.
Same time.
Windows wide open. Come get me. I'm going to do my usual. Crazy.
The faith is insane.
That's the faith that I want to have.
And that's the faith that we should all strive for. That discipline too, that he had no matter what.
Yep.
It's so good.
And everything he did, the integrity he had in the kingdom is why he got to the place he got to. He was a man of righteousness, a man of good doing. He was the man of God.
Wow.
He was. And you can tell because it never came out of his mouth. It came out of his haters' mouths.
Wow.
It came out of the king of this entire nation. The people in power were the ones proclaiming his name and saying yo, this man is righteous. I couldn't find any dirt on him.
Whoever humbles himself will be exalted.
There you go. There you go. But what a story. What a story. This is a powerful story. So now we got, if you want to go check out Daniel defeats Goliath and David defeats Goliath and Daniel in the lion's den. Phenomenal ones. We love doing these type of episodes. We actually enjoy them so much.
It's just so good. It's so good. You can get so much out of these things.
Yeah.
We read things at face value and it's like, wow, that's cool. He had faith. There's so much more to it.
So much.
So much to it, man. Let's strive for that faith. Let's strive for that no faltering faith despite any pressure outside, any outside opinion. There's no faltering. There's no I'm gonna stop saying things. No, let's strive for that. For that discipline, for that. I don't care. I follow God. Yeah. Let's strive for that.
Yeah. And even when you got haters, like, keep that prayer life, keep that faith, keep that love. I bet you Daniel didn't go up to these administrators and high officers and disrespected them.
He didn't even entertain it.
Nope.
He just was like, all right,
I'm gonna pray.
He didn't even say anything. Like, God spoke for him.
Bye. God spoke for him. We could cut the episode there. Thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you guys got some awesome wisdom, some awesome encouragement. We hope that you were convicted so that maybe you upgrade your prayer life and get in your prayer closet just like us. But we love you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in till the end. And we'll see you guys for the next episode. Let us know in the comments what story you guys want us to go over. We love you and we'll see you guys next episode. Peace out, everybody.
Peace.